Morning, everybody. Wow. There was an article in the Jewish Forward. Not so Jewish, but that's what they call it. I'm not a fan of that publication, but every now and then there's something good in there. And especially, to get around the status quo. They like to have things. And there was a rather poor response in the Jewish press and somewhat intellectually dishonest response in the Jewish press. So I'm going to approach these issues as well as some other issues that are pertinent to our current day-to-day world. So the first thing is this article. I'll admit, it was, to many people might seem shocking, but I think has a lot of truth to it. It was from an anonymous author. Here, I'm not anonymous. I'm right here. I'm Joe Kolakowski. I can understand why the author chose to be anonymous. But the author there wrote that he had taught, I don't know if he was teaching it sounds like he's a rabbi. If maybe the author wants to reach out to me, I would like to talk to him about it. I'm very interested in talking about this. It sounds like he was someone who was a rabbi who taught in several modern Orthodox religious Zionist schools. And he pretty much said that not only the schools are teaching, and again, this is the polar opposite of our community, the ultra-Orthodox communities. This is a major issue that we have between modern Orthodoxy and ultra-Orthodoxy. Although there are a handful of modern Orthodox Jews who are not Zionists or anti-Zionists, like Professor Jacob Rabkin and a few others. I guess Yaakov Rabkin, he calls it. A few others. But for the most part, the modern Orthodox world are committed religious Zionists. And it's I'm going to agree with him here. It's their main article of faith in many ways, as we see what this article is saying. The most damning accusation that they make here is that these schools, and there are different levels of modern Orthodoxy in this area, but these schools are very weak when it comes to religion. And they're very strong when it comes to Zionism. And not only would it be said, the dual loyalty claim, but actually more loyalty to Israel than to America. Types of things that are taught in these types of schools, which are religiously rather liberal from an Orthodox standpoint, but they seem rather radical politically. They'll tell, and this author was claiming that he's heard students be told, "You don't belong here." The same type of things that President Trump says. The one thing that I'm really upset at President Trump is when he says something along the lines of he calls Netanyahu, when he speaks to Jewish American crowds, he calls Netanyahu your prime minister. But the thing is, this is what's taught in these modern Orthodox schools. And unfortunately, his son-in-law, who's a Shomer Shabbos nominally, I've heard some claims against his devotions. That's not my business, really. His devotion to halacha. But he went to school Frisch, I think is where he went, which is one of these types of schools, which are religiously very weak and politically very Zionist. But they're still officially Orthodox. That's where he's coming from. I don't know if he went to Frisch or to a different school. I think that's where he went. And these types of things, bringing Israeli soldiers to come speak and so forth, and this push of Israel, and you don't find at least something equal with America. I mean, I complained, someone made a private minyan in their home every year near me, and last year I prayed with them, and they said the tefillah they said a prayer for the state of Israel, and I said, wait a second, we're in America, can you say Anosei Tshuva? In our shul we don't say either one, and I personally say Anosei Tshuva. I say the prayer for America and the prayer for President Trump and so forth personally. But our rabbi generally suggests that we stay away from it just in case someone would want to say the prayer for Israel. And what's problematic about that? And so therefore we pray privately for America instead of publicly, lest we be forced to pray for Israel by some of our members, because we try to have a what's the word? A diverse crowd in our synagogue, and so we have some people in our synagogue who are strong anti-Zionists religiously, and some who are religious Zionists, and we have the whole gamut in between. The rabbi's probably in the middle, a good approach, more, although he has a little bit more along the Satmar lines, which is typical in the Litvish world, that they're the Hasidic Agudists tend to be more pro-Zionist, and the Litvish Agudists tend to be more on the anti-Zionist spectrum of non-Zionism. And then the Hasidic anti-Zionists are strongly anti-Zionist generally. In Jewish press, there's a blogger, also anonymous, and he wrote there about how he's anonymous, called Elder of Zion. And he said, well, first of all, it's irresponsible to write an article like this because it's going to give cannon fodder for the anti-Semites. Well, the answer, if we're admitting that it's a problem, so let's fix it. And then he said, did you really check if this is true? Did the forward do a fact check on an editorial? So then, the headline here is talking about modern Orthodox schools. So he said, is it really true that there isn't interfaith and American patriotic things in these schools? So he brought one example from Ramaz, which is a school exactly like he's describing, that one time they did something for Martin Luther King Day or Veterans Day, something, and then the other, I think it was Veterans Day, which is good, and they should do more of that. But so there's one time of that, and then there's like a million, Yom Ha'atzmaut programs. So that's not really intellectually honest there. And then the other example he brought was from the Heschel School, which is a conservative, it's not Orthodox. It's officially pluralistic, but more along the lines of conservative. And of course, the Heschel School is going to have things for Martin Luther King Day and so forth, because that was Rabbi Heschel's whole approach. He was very close with Dr. King. He was, that was his thing. So it's not, I don't think Elder of Zion was really being intellectually honest there by 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 virtue of this. We're discussing here a little bit. So we're discussing these issues of Zionism. Wanted to talk a little bit about the World Zionist Organization elections that are coming up, and a lot of the modern Orthodox are pushing voting in these elections. So are we still recording here? So I wanted to bring up just one thing here. There was a letter that came out attributed to Rabbi Aaron Feldman, who was the Rosh Hashiva near Israel. I remember when I was learning in Or Sameach, I would go hear his shiurim Motzei Shabbos on Mishlei when he was living in Yerushalayim at the time, before he came back to Baltimore and became the Rosh Hashiva there in Ner Yisrael. And someone was asking about voting in the WZO elections, and he emphatically stated that it's forbidden because you have to accept what they call their Jerusalem platform. And he said that this identity of Jewish identity being focused on Zionism as opposed to Torah Sinai is kfira, it's heresy, and therefore it's forbidden for a pious Jew to sign such a thing. Which shows, Ner Yisrael is considered to be on the ultra-Orthodox spectrum, to be a little bit more of the liberal ultra-Orthodox. They are not opposed to going to college. A lot of their students get college credits and so forth. And so when compared to some of the more ultra-Orthodox, they're more liberal. And Rabbi Feldman certainly is from that tradition to a certain extent, even though he himself probably has gone a little bit more to the right personally, but comparing to how he grew up and so forth. And it's refreshing to see that this is what he taught. So, all right. Well, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. Is it wrong to, air our dirty laundry as far as the problems of Zionism and ultra-nationalist Zionism in the modern Orthodox world? Will that give cannon fodder to the anti-Semites, or is it something that we should fix because it's not fundamental to our faith, and it's really wrong how these communities have realigned their fundamentals? They don't see Shabbos and kosher and emunah, faith, as fundamental as much as they see Zionism as fundamental, and that's and I think it's the same problem on the other side. If we see anti-Zionism as the main fundamental, I see certain people, individuals in our community who, when Ben Shapiro says that Bernie Sanders, there's nothing Jewish about him, and he's not saying that merely about Zionism. Bernie Sanders is actually a Zionist. What's the story there? What can we share there? So, and yet they're defending Bernie Sanders which I don't think they should be doing either. They can criticize Ben Shapiro without saying he's a kafir, and I'm not the biggest fan. We got to go. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe.